Most of us, if you've done natural edge work at all, you probably think this is it. And indeed it is. One of the many possible variations, but in recent months I've been playing around with, there are many other things you can do that are pretty attractive that end up with that natural edge form. These are a couple of pieces in cherry burl, different shapes, but off balance, relatively balanced. In the notice that went out with the meeting, there were three kind of unique pieces. Those aren't mine. That actually came out of the American Wood Journal. But this is a somewhat similar one to the round one, and I'll pass these around. And I got to tell you, I'm not even sure what this wood is. But this is just retaining the bark at the top. A close second variation on that is you can do anything spherical and just keep the top as big or small as you want or are willing to do. And that one that's wandering around, the spherical one, came out of this. And the other thing that was shown there was the one that looks a bit like a mushroom. And I didn't quite get as far as getting one of those done, and I did manage to lose my natural edge. But what I can tell you is cutting underneath that top ain't no easy thing to do. I'm still working on it. But this is generally that form that was in the picture. And last but not least, this is roughly what I hope to do tonight. All these, as you can see, are not yet finished. They're roughed out. This is mulberry, and it's being turned on the axis, which is the only way you can save that natural edge. And this one turned out really kind of cool. So that said,
how much are you selling those for? When they're finished?
Oh, when they're finished. I don't know. I suppose a piece like that's a $5 kind of thing.
More if the bark stays on.
More if the bark stays on. So a few things worth commenting on. One is the bark doesn't have to stay the way the bark is. There's no reason you can't stain it if you want it to be darker. In fact, you could go as far as staining it black for a really dramatic difference. I suppose you could color it. I've never seen anybody do that. And the other little thing that I've learned is that if you're doing the complete outside and you want to retain that outside ring, it's a good idea to use a really thin parting tool like these guys and decide where you want to save that rim and mark it, cut it right down, and you're much less likely to lose the bark then. And the minute I get to the point that I can actually see the whole thing in what I'm doing, I stop and I see it. And that gives you a much better chance of retaining the bark. What that does mean, though, is you have to be thinking about what you're doing. Another thing that I learned early on and is implicit in what I've done here is that the bottom of your tenon does not have to be the bottom of your piece at all. And sometimes, many times, it's a lot more fun to work well up from it. The wood's free, so
Very thin CA, do you see?
I just use thin CA spray it with in fact, I use one of Mark's towels here to keep from screwing the lathe when the time comes. So what I'm going to attempt to do is do one of these big flared edges, probably with a little more of a crown shape, and then the round base and the internal hollowing, but I'm not going to try to do the little teeny hollowing. To make that work, you got to have power here, and we don't have it here.
Hey Bob, are there any woods that just do not hang on to the bark well enough to try to do natural edge?
There probably are. What I've always drifted toward is these gnarly barks. I think they're much more interesting than, you know, something like cherry, where it's just, or birch, you know, the bark is basically just a thin sheet. One other thing I learned some years ago, I spent a week working with Christian Burchard, and you can make your own natural edge with a map gas torch. And he makes a lot of his pieces where he turns them with a flared edge or a straight top edge, and then goes straight down on them with a map torch and burns just that 1/4 of an inch or so on the rim. The other thing I've learned over the years, and this piece going around is an example of it, things that aren't round can give you really, and if you look at that from the top, that's pretty spectacular. And this mulberry log happens to be oval, so we're going to get those kind of ovally effects here. The other thing is, just with the normal natural edge, once in a while you'll find a tree that is convoluted, and those often make really interesting natural edge pieces.
That's like cedar, right? The cedar.
Oh, cedars. Wonderful.
Cedar comes in and out.
Yes,
All those.
yes. Mark.
FYI, wood that is cut during the winter is much more likely to hang on to the natural edge than wood that's cut during the summer. All the sap and everything that's rising during the summer makes it want to come off a lot quicker.
For sure, definitely cut during the winter. Also, oval wood tends to come from branch wood, which has its own set of problems when it comes to shrinkage and things like that. Because the branch, the way the weight is, a lot of times the pith is. So if you're looking for oval wood, you're going to have the challenge of turning the branches.
Believe it or not, this is actually the trunk section from a tree that came down in Lake Johnson Park. So I know it's not a branch.
I know, but I'm
it's
just saying.
It's a good comment.
Yeah.
What about burls?
What about them?
I mean, is there anything different about, you know, the bark staying on or anything? Or?
I'm not interested in anything much different. You get wonderful patterns sometimes, like on these, but I haven't noticed any more issues with the bark staying on.
My thinking is not good. I save the bark pieces that I take off, just put them somewhere aside. If a piece flies somewhere in my shop and I can't find it, I'll go through my pile of bark, cut that piece exact,
Glue something back in.
put it right back.
I've done that before.
And no one has ever noticed an inlaid piece of bark yet. So I think you can
Just
do it.
out of curiosity, how many of you have done a natural edge piece at one time or another? Almost everybody? Oh, good. So what kind of got me going here was the idea of doing something other than just the balanced bowl, which is what we all wanted to do. And so the first thing I'm going to do here, and I'm going to try and make this look more like the one we did, the picture was on the meeting notice. I'll make this a more like a crown shape, but I'm not going to try and do a small. So my first thing is to decide where I want my.
That wall's just wet, doesn't it, Paul?
Excuse me?
That wall is wet. It's not
It has been down for less than a month, I would say. Yeah, it's green wood. go particularly. On the bottom, you just want to be through the bark.
What I do is, I love the spin.
Okay, so I'm cut clear through the bark all the way around. And I'll play around with shaping, first of all, getting rid of what I know is actually up here. Bark so as not to lose it. Mark. This thing is oval, you kind of have to go at it with a little loving care. And then you have to make a decision about where you want the bottom of your crown piece to be. That rim is going to end up being the widest point on your piece. And you do have, in this particular case, this mulberry, not only a very strongly contrasting piece of sapwood, but the underlayer of the bark is kind of a reddish color. So on that one piece that's wandering around wherever, you can see I actually left a couple of patches on. Oh, do you need to hear a microphone? I could do that, I guess.
Especially when the light is right.
Oh, okay. Well,
The technicians.
who knows how to do the microphone?
Too late.
Too late? Okay. I'll try to talk louder. The piece wandering around with the flared edge on it, I intentionally left the two bark sections with the white sapwood around them, and the lower part of this bark is a very nice reddish color, so you get kind of a medallion effect. You don't have to leave that. You can take it out altogether. And I suppose looking at this one, if you wanted to, there's a way you could save a whole band in here. We'll see. vibration when I'm not around. But we'll keep going, I think.
Do you find cutting all the bark dulls your tools more quickly?
Excuse me?
Do you find that the bark cutting dulls your tool?
I don't know. These all started out really sharp. But I would say not. So I'm just eyeballing what looks like a pleasant curve here. For the newbies, the beam is to be looking up here, not down here where you're cutting, because that's where you can see the shape of the curve you're getting. All of the many little imperfections are always in there. What I'm working on here is roundish, spherical-ish. Well, let's see what we've got. Okay, there's the red patch with the white surround on it. I'm inclined to leave it because I think it's really pretty.
Look while you were dead.
Hey!
How wet would you say this is?
It's fairly wet. The tree's been down 3 or 4 weeks. So where'd it go, Leon?
Pretty big piece.
Look like it's a back.
Went on the back of the wall.
Oh, okay. Well,
It
that's
was
too
in one
bad.
piece. Big piece.
Chunk of it.
I don't see it. Well, I'll search for it later.
So you've not soaked that with CA yet, correct?
That's correct. In retrospect, I probably should have. my choice would normally be to do what I've done, shape the underside and then work from the top, and if I'm going to thin it down from the top. It just feels better. It's better visual control than working from the bottom to thin it out. All I'm really doing here is getting rid of it. Probably ought to save what we have. Thank you.
There may be another piece here.
Good job.
Thank you, Salvage Group. You're right.
Eagle eye spot there, guys.
So it's hard to psychologically convince yourself of this, but early on somebody told me you should use sandpaper like it's free and CA glue like it's free.
Sandpaper's more free than the CA.
I was going to say, let me know where you get that free CA.
Yeah. Basically, there's some kind of wisdom in it.
Is that thin or thick?
This is thin.
I think whoever told you that stole.
That could be too. That could be too. I wouldn't argue that point. This had to come out of here somewhere. A couple other possibles. That looks like a good spot right there. Wow. It's there now.
Somebody's going to wish you had your shield.
No. We're going to use the instant set stuff. I don't know. This is. Who knows? This one's being a little obtuse. This is thin. For some reason, this one little piece doesn't want to grab.
There, so if I was missing a piece,
How many times have you looked at figures by that, Bob?
Quite a bit, quite a bit.
I'll take 10 minutes off.
If anyone has filled out the volunteer forms, please make sure to pass them back up front so we can have it tonight.
Bob, you better sing or something. I think we're looking around.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, guys, this wasn't part of the plan.
This never happens at home, right?
It happens at home with some regularity. It really went all over. Okay, so we've got a reconstructed edge.
And we're back.
Well, actually, it doesn't sound like we look again. I like the CA on my glass.
You guys should be okay. I sprayed it. Fixing it.
Sometimes when you use the accelerator, it turns white.
Sometimes it does.
You found a way to keep from doing that?
I have no idea. Usually you just turn it off. So now I'm going to try to sneak up in here and begin to shape the edge of the top. And from where I'm standing, I can see this curve, so I'm going to try to match it.
Hey! Guy up front's talking.
That's okay.
Can't get it. It's not your fault.
One other thought, particularly with wood like this that has this wonderful graining and coloration. You know, the standard theory is you don't want to turn a bowl in this direction, but really there are two things you can do. One is you can turn the bowl and soak the pith with CA. That'll work most times. And secondly, you can pour that pith out and put a foot on the thing using some contrasting wood, and you end up with a really pretty piece. And the parallel line configuration you get from the graining looking down is really cool, as you could see from the top of that one piece that went around. So no reason in the world you really can't do a bowl that way. It's just kind of the accepted theory. Now what I'm going to try to do is get just a little bit of a neck sticking out inside here that follows the curve.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm not going to end up with a real little hole. I'm going to try to do my hauling through a hole that's big enough we can get the shavings out. Strange twist. I'm just doing the same thing that Don Leahy's talked about. Put it on the edge and try to match the curve inside and out. And I'm getting there. Playing around with trying to get the inside neck thing so it follows the curve. And we're probably approaching the point where we want to do away with a lot of this. trying to do is leave enough stuff in here that I'll be able to play with it and shape it. Tough stuff. Cuts. Don't know why.
You're a wild man, Bob.
Yeah. But it's holding together. Actually, it doesn't look like a bad line coming right on through. So, I think somebody taught me years ago that many of you probably know is to take a drill and put a handle on it, and when you're doing any kind of a depth cut, you can drill a hole down the center to the depth that you want to be, and then when you're actually doing your hollowing and you don't have any hole left, you're there in terms of where you want to be in the bottom. So I'm kind of eyeballing right to the top of this little dome I have inside. Oh yeah. And you can just, you know, eyeball it and keep testing. But if you mark it, then you're fairly sure you know how deep you want to go. And I do have the tenon down so that the jaws are, I don't know, there's 1/8 of an inch here. It's almost a complete circular grip. And I do have a very wide square edge on it. And again, for young folks who haven't done it a lot, most of the strength of your grip with these jaws is on this top edge. It's not what you're grabbing inside, it's the angle that keeps it from popping out. So if that's square and you're flat against it, the odds of losing it are much less. So I'm going to make a little dimple here. starts the drill. I like to pop it out and get the shavings free.
What kind of drill? Spade bit?
So
It's got a little spiral on the front and it runs across and it's got rings on it.
now I know I'm as deep as I'm
Almost like a grinder belly.
Watch out for that little thing in the front.
bunch of different approaches to hollowing depending on the tools you have, how big your hole's going to be,
It's on the crank.
and how big your object is.
Crank with a Morse 2 tape in it. Those things are built to come undone and vibrate.
Early on, one of the easiest things to use is just to gouge sideways. This thing is
Too high, Bob? The rest too high?
might be.
I think it's gonna swing that big.
Got it at more or less a 45-degree angle in there. It's wet wood. And the basic theory with hollowing is you want to open up as much space as you can. And the more space you open up, the more room you've got for shavings inside. And I don't know, everybody familiar with these?
What is it?
Knitting needle.
This is a knitting needle, but it's a really cool knitting needle. There's a little battery in it. And that lights up. And if you want to know what's going on inside there, you can see.
What kind of knitting do you do with that?
I think they were made for nighttime in airplanes, but they're cheap. You can get them at Michael's or AC Moore, and it's a hell of a lot better than trying to mess around with some kind of a funny little light inside. And they're cool idea. I have no idea who showed it to me, but I've had one for years. Now, I think watching somebody hauling is closely watching somebody sanding, but Does anybody have any questions about Hollow? Or bad stories or good stories?
It's already clean.
This wood is just jamming up like hell. Sir?
Your wood's pretty green, right?
Yes, very
Have you
green.
tightened your chuck since you put it on there? Have you tightened the chuck? Because you know, with green, you give it a tightness every now and then. It's your hollow.
Probably a good idea. No, I haven't. I really cranked it down pretty good.
It's like an
Where you're not very well down.
Well, guys, you know. Tighten it.
This stuff's really bad.
You need one of those self-cleaning flutes.
Excuse me?
You need a self-cleaning flute.
Yes, a self-cleaning flute. Somebody out there will invent one, I'm
Just
sure.
sprayed it with, not WD-40, but Teflon.
Teflon?
CA?
It works really good the first few seconds.
Next Saturday. I'm setting up for 12 o'clock. Or keep 2 demos going all the time. But they're big place, 2 and 3 hours.
Same place? Same place? In the theater?
No, out front. We're outside.
When I'm working at home, I would normally sand this thing down
I made a stink about them sticking us in the basement.
before I even started hauling out.
Not working.
And some, I often use oil, that mixture of oil and poly and natural and mineral oil. And I'll put that on and let it soak, wipe it off, and then I spray lacquer. People like shiny things. I've learned that. Unlike Chris Brenner, who will spend an hour slowly rubbing this piece is, I'm kind of not that person.
Bob, we have a hollowing tool up front on the auction.
We do.
You might want to try that to see what
I actually had not thought I would be doing anything fairly small. I'm that far down already.
way. You know, because you're only using one side.
Right.
Then, has anyone tried that? Just a half? What? Is it really? Yeah. So,
Break.
Break time. This is a tool that Daryl Rooney made and gave me some years ago. It's an amazing scraper for doing the inside of hollow form walls. But you've obviously got to have at least a 1-inch opening to work through it. But given that, once you can fit it inside, it's really, and it'll go right to the bottom, and you can avoid that little nipple that you get down with this thing. He obviously did it from a round nose scraper and just reshaped it.
If anyone has a lazy days sheet that they're not going to fill out, please pass it up. We got folks who are interested in volunteering.
That's on my road.
Yeah, you definitely got it loaded It's wet.
This piece of wood is a tough piece.
Yeah, but it's hard wood.
You didn't make it easy on yourself.
I know.
No good for this.
In retrospect,
I pay you much.
Go ahead, get it. Go
My wife's already turned in my phone this week, so I don't know what that is. Oh my God.
Oh, I punched a little piece out. I'll have to fill that, punch the piece out. It's not going well. Oh no.
That's a hell of a tool.
They're wonderful. It's a great tool. I'm down to about here.
That's good enough.
Is that good enough? You guys seen enough? You got the idea? Wonderful. I will take this home and spend a lot of time on it. Getting it right. I'm down to roughly here somewhere. And yeah, this is a remarkable thing. Really works well. So thank you all.
Thanks, Bob.